Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a look at issue 76 of the Imperium magazine. This has to be one of my favourite issues so far. We're going to get this Space Marine ATV in here, and it's complete, so everything is just in this one issue, and for $8.99 I think this is a really fantastic way to get hold of a pretty cool model. And what's better than one? Let's get two! So I couldn't wait for my monthly delivery, so I went out and grabbed two from my local newsagent, and then when my delivery comes I'll have a nice unit of 3 ATVs now, which I think will look so awesome on the table. Let's get this open then and have a good look through it, and I thought in this video I'd run through just how I assemble models. Maybe you haven't even built any models yet and you're thinking of picking up some of these issues, so I'll just run through the process I go through. Altogether in the issue you're going to get the model, the articles, data sheets and tutorials. We'll have a look at the sprues first and then we'll start working our way through the magazine. There's going to be 2 sprues in here, one of the half size and then one slightly smaller, and this has got the main components of the ATV, the chassis, very hard, I can't say that, the chassis, and then it's got the different weapons on there as well. You've got a choice of an onslaught Gatling cannon on the top or a multi-melter, so 2 nice options there. I think having a unit of 3 might be fun to mix it up, 1 with multi-melter, go 2 with the onslaught Gatling cannons, because I think the Gatling cannons look better on this, but what they'll be like in-game, I'm not sure. You might want to go multi-melters, but I just think that Gatling cannon looks so awesome as they're speeding along, just raining fire on the enemies. Here's a close-up so you can see the models. So these are your Primaris models. And when I go through the build later on in the video, I'll show you some steps in the build that you might want to consider when putting together your models. Let's have a look at the magazine then. So this is issue number 76, one miniature, the Space Marine ATV. And here's my favourite part of these magazines. This is where it tells you all about the units that are included. And it tells you the weapons. So you've got the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, you've got some enhanced Vox Array, twin bolt auto rifle, all-terrain suspension, and a multi-melter that you can put on top. You can certainly magnetise these and get the full use so you don't have to commit and glue one in place. As we flip the page over, you'll see on the back of this info sheet, you're going to get a battle record, so you can keep the driver, gunner name, the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, details of exactly what happens, and then you can keep a record as you play out your battles. Then you're going to start learning about some Chaos Demons. The horrors of Chaos are awesome, great fun miniatures, really easy to paint. And we're going to learn about Lieutenant Neos. He's going to be one of the heroes. And you can see in the top right, everything's categorised. So when you put it into your folders that you get in the collection, it all goes in the same place. And then we've got Lampros, Hecaton, the Grand Oathkeeper there. Then another section going into war zones, looking at the Sanctus Wall. And then the great how to build guide. Fantastic. This is one really good thing of the collection. The how to build guide, I think, are better than the ones you get in the sets. They're really clearly laid out, really nicely done. And you can see here, this is going to be super simple to put together. And it's quite a new model. This was manufactured in 2020 or designed in 2020. This one's going to be fitting nice and snug. And you do find, with most of the newer models anyway, they do go together a lot better, a lot smoother, really crisp. Then there's a how to paint section. With all the paints now we've got in the guide, you pretty much can go through and complete this. I love how they've used the Tesseract glow on the screen. I never thought to do that. And with a white scar border, that really frames it nicely. That's a nice little tip. And then this final gallery looks awesome. Some great shots looking down, front, back, and some of the angles too. Then you get your data sheet, which looks up to date. I'll have to check it to confirm. But looking good, you've got the 2 options for the weapons there, so it's really nice that you get the full kit that you can build the different weapons with. Then there's a tutorial that's going to cover the big guns never tire and heavy weapons rule, and then a mission called Veteran Mission Control Nodes, and that's it. Next we've got issues 77 and 76, where we'll get the Necron Command Barge, so I'll certainly be covering that here on the channel too. But now we've seen everything, we've seen the sprues in the magazine, it's time to get building, so let's head over to the table and we'll have a look at exactly what I use. So here we go, I've got my Citadel clippers, I've got a little scalpel, and that's pretty much all I use to prepare all the different components. So I just get my snippers, I go as close as I can to the model, and certainly on things like this where you've got the nice flush edges, you can get it really close. Sometimes you have to just trim off the little knobbly bit that comes with it and then work on it when it's off the sprue. But in the most part, you can get all these right off nice and cleanly. Then I'll take my little blade and I'll just carefully trim away, and then I'll turn it vertically and then scrape it. So I find this works a lot better than the scraping tool you buy. It's also a lot cheaper. You can get these for just a couple of dollars or pounds, and so they're going to be much more cost effective, and I think a lot better as well. There is a risk, obviously, with these being scalpels. They're very sharp. You just got to be careful with that. But yeah, they do a much better job than those scrapers that you can get hold of. Of course, everyone's going to have their own way of preparing their miniatures, and so some people might prefer those scrapers, but for me personally, I like to do this. I feel like I've got a lot more control and can be more detailed. Then what I do is I'll trim out a section from the sprue, and so I'm just going for this section here from the how to build guide, and then what I'll do is I'll work through that whole section, trimming, getting rid of all the little sprue marks, all the mould lines, getting all of that off of all the components, and then I'll glue them together. So rather than doing just one piece at a time, I'll chunk it. It makes it a lot quicker, more efficient, and you can just fly through these models then. Now it's time to glue it together, and I use this Tamiya cement. Now, I discovered this maybe a year ago, and it just transformed how I build my models. This stuff is awesome. You get a brush in there, it's really quick, it's sturdy on the table, and it just makes assembling models so much faster than using those little metal tubes that come in the Citadel glues. So you can be really frugal with the glue, you don't have to put loads on there. Use the edge of the glass to wipe it off, and then very simply brush it onto your model, and then just go for it. And it sets really quickly. Give it a good pinch to get it in place. This stuff is just fantastic. I can't rate it highly enough. And here's that section now, all put together. I'll also put a link down below where you can find the glue and things like that too. I've carried on to the next section, built the Space Marine. I decided to glue this in place. Now you don't have to, you could keep it separately if you wanted to paint it, but I think I can get the brush in there, no problem. With this one though, I'm going to keep the arms unglued, and I'm also not going to glue him in place. So I'm going to paint him separately, and then this way I can get in around where the legs are a lot easier, because you can really see those, so I want to do that. And I also want to have the option of having both those guns, so I've got to keep those arms loose. And here you can see that the arms, if you keep them loose, you can just pop them into the different weapons. And I've built the heavy onslaught cannon and the melter as well. And there you go. So you can see we've got some options now. The arms move. And then what I'll need to do is just think about magnetizing the guns, and then maybe even trimming and magnetizing where those hands are attached to the gun. So that's something I'm going to have a think about. But you don't even have to magnetize it. Those little pegs are going to go in. But if you do, you just snip the peg off, pop a magnet on there, another one on the ATV itself, and then you can interchange the weapons, no problem. But I think with the hands, if you don't glue them in place, those arms, you will be able to just put them onto the weapon. So I think you've got two options. You either, well, three options really. Choose one weapon and glue it in place. Another one would be to use magnets. And another one would just be to use the friction of the model parts. And that's all there is to it. Here's the ATV all assembled. I've put it together here with the heavy onslaught cannon, which I think is just fantastic. It looks brilliant, and I can't wait to get all three of these put together and on the table. I'm thinking of even doing a brand new Space Marine army, as I've got Imperial Fist and Space Wolves so far, but I fancy something a little bit different, so I might do a custom one, not sure yet. Here I've put the multi-melter on, and that looks pretty menacing. But I just think that Gatling cannon looks really cool. And if you're going for rule of cool, you've got to pick the best looking weapon. Which is your favourite? Let me know in the comments below. Do you like the multi-melter, or are you more for the heavy Gatling cannon? I'd love to hear what you think. What a cool vehicle. I really love this one. Can't wait to get them all together. And this covers now issue 76. Normally I do them in 4 issues at a time as they're delivered. And as I was building this, the doorbell went and I went out to get it and the parcel arrived. It's the next set of Imperium magazines. Now these have come in a bit earlier than they used to because the other issues aren't even out yet. Normally you get them when the issues have all been released. So 75 and 76 are out, but 77 and 78 haven't been released yet. So this is the second time I've got my Imperium magazine early, which is pretty cool. And we've got usually 80 issues, so only 2 left after this, but they've extended it to 90 issues. So really looking forward to seeing what's to come. After these 4, it's going to be Rabute Gilliman, who would have been the one that finished the collection, but we've got 10 more after him, which is pretty exciting. But look out for this video coming real soon, where I'll go through all 4 of these magazines and get us right up to date. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you found it informative and you got a good idea about what's included in this issue. You may still be able to get it at your local newsagents or supermarket too, so check it out. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. Subscribe as well, that really helps get the channel out there. So if you've been enjoying the videos lately, it would be awesome if you consider subscribing. And I look forward to seeing you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. We've set ourselves a goal of getting to 100 supporters, and so far we're on 37, which is pretty exciting. So well over a third of the way there. Thanks so much if you've joined already, and if you'd like to find out more, there's a link down below.